The Galactic Council chamber buzzed with the sound of alien voices. Ambassador Sarah Chun stood at the center, her small human frame dwarfed by the massive Zarkonian delegates. The reptilian beings towered over her, their scales gleaming under the artificial lights. "Look at this pathetic creature," hissed Commander Zex, his forked tongue flicking out in amusement. How did such weak beings ever leave their homeworld? Sarah kept her face calm, but her hands trembled slightly. She had been Earth's representative for 3 years now, and the mockery never stopped. The other species saw humans as fragile, slow, and mentally inferior. "The humans wish to join our trade routes," announced the council speaker, a tall blue-skinned alien called Zircon. "But what can they offer?" "They have no natural armor, no poison, no enhanced strength." The chamber filled with clicking sounds, the alien version of laughter. Sarah's colleague, Dr. Young-Hoon Park, shifted uncomfortably beside her. His research on human potential meant nothing here. "We offer our knowledge," Sarah said firmly. "Our ability to adapt and learn." More clicking filled the air. A massive bear-like alien called Grex stomped forward. "Adapt? Your people die from a simple fall. You need machines to fly. You cannot even see in the dark." Sarah thought of her daughter Min-Jung back on Earth, studying to become a pilot. She thought of her son Sa-Yo-Yan, training to be a doctor. They were the future of humanity, but here they were seen as nothing more than weak animals. "The Galactic Council has made its decision," Zircon announced. "Humans will be granted limited trade rights. You may sell your simple crafts and buy basic supplies. But you are forbidden from military zones, advanced technology sectors, and colonization rights." The other aliens nodded in approval. To them, humans were no threat, just another inferior species to be tolerated, but never respected. As Sarah and Sarah Young-Hoon left the chamber, they passed groups of alien youngsters who pointed and laughed at their slow walking pace. The humans were seen as a joke throughout the galaxy. Back on Earth, the news was met with frustration. President Maria Santos called an emergency meeting. "We cannot let them treat us this way," she said to her advisors. "But we must be patient. We will show them what humanity is truly capable of." Meanwhile, on the Zarkonian homeworld, Commander Zex reported to his superiors. "The humans are harmless." He laughed. "They accepted our terms without any resistance. These soft creatures will never be a problem for us." The Zarkonian High Command was pleased. They had been expanding their territory for centuries, crushing any species that stood in their way. Humans seemed like the perfect servants, intelligent enough to be useful, but too weak to ever rebel. But in the depths of space, something was stirring. Human colonies that the aliens didn't know about were growing stronger. Secret research facilities were developing new technologies. The galaxy had made a terrible mistake. They had underestimated humanity. Dr. Young-Hoon worked late into the night, analyzing alien technology and finding ways to improve it. His team of scientists, including the brilliant Dr. Lisa Wong, were making breakthroughs that would shock the galaxy. On Mars, General Robert Hayes was training a new generation of human soldiers. They were learning to fight in zero gravity, to survive in hostile environments, and to use weapons the aliens had never seen before. The Zarkonians and other species continued their expansion, destroying worlds and enslaving populations. They believed themselves to be the ultimate predators of the galaxy. But they had forgotten an important truth. The most dangerous predators often look harmless at first. As Sarah Chun looked out at the stars from her ship's window, she made a promise. "They think we are weak," she whispered. "They think we are nothing. But they will learn the truth about humanity. We are not the frail creatures they believe us to be." The galaxy had mocked humanity for too long. They had pushed the species that had survived ice ages, world wars, and countless disasters. They had insulted the descendants of creatures who had climbed to the top of their planet's food chain through pure determination. Soon, very soon, they would discover their mistake. The galaxy was about to learn that there is no fury like a human pushed too far. The age of being seen as weaklings was about to end, and when humanity's true nature was revealed, the stars themselves would tremble. 6 months had passed since the humiliating encounter at the Galactic Council. The aliens continued to treat humans as second-class citizens, but changes were happening in the shadows that they could not see. Commander Zex stood on the bridge of his massive warship, the scale of dominion. His fleet was preparing to attack the peaceful Ultrarian system, another species that had refused to submit to Zarkonian rule. It would be an easy victory, just like all the others. "Sir," his communications officer reported, "we're detecting some small ships approaching our position." Zex looked at the screen and began to laugh. 3 tiny human vessels were flying toward his fleet of 50 massive warships. "Are these insects trying to stop us?" He hissed in amusement. The lead human ship sent a transmission. The face of Captain Minjun Chun, Sarah's daughter, appeared on the screen. She looked young and determined, but Zex saw only another weak human. "Zarkonian fleet," Minjun's voice was steady. "You are ordered to withdraw from Ultrian space immediately." The entire bridge erupted in the clicking sound of alien laughter. Zex wiped tears from his reptilian eyes. "Little human child," he sneered. "Go home before you get hurt. This is a matter for real warriors." Minjun's expression didn't change. "This is your final warning, Commander Zex." "Final warning?" Zex roared with laughter. "Your 3 tiny ships against my fleet? I could destroy you with 1 weapon blast." "You're welcome to try," Minjun replied calmly. Zex's amusement turned to anger. How dare this pathetic creature show such disrespect? "All ships," he commanded, "destroy those human insects. Show them what happens when weaklings challenge the strong." 20 Zarkonian warships opened fire at once. Massive energy beams that could destroy entire cities shot toward the 3 human vessels. Zex smiled, expecting to see the humans vaporized instantly. But something impossible happened. The human ships didn't explode. Instead, they seemed to shimmer and fade, appearing in completely different positions. The Zarkonian weapons struck empty space. What? Zex's jaw dropped in confusion. How did they move so fast? Before he could process what had happened, the 3 human ships began their counterattack. But they weren't using normal weapons. Beams of pure energy shot from their hulls, energy that looked familiar. "Sir," his science officer screamed in panic. "They're using weaponized gravity. They're creating artificial black holes." One of Zex's largest ships was caught in a gravity well that appeared from nowhere. The massive vessel, which had conquered dozens of worlds, was crushed like an empty can. It folded in on itself and disappeared into nothingness. Impossible. Zex roared. "Humans don't have that technology." Another human ship fired something that looked like a simple missile. When it hit a Zarkonian cruiser, the entire ship began to phase in and out of reality before vanishing completely. "Dimensional weapons," a science officer whispered in terror. "They're sending our ships into parallel dimensions." The 3rd human vessel did something even more shocking. It somehow duplicated itself, becoming 5 identical ships. And those 5 became 10. Within seconds, there were 50 human ships facing the Zarkonian fleet. Holographic projections? Zex hoped desperately. "No, sir," came the horrified reply. "Scanner readings show they're all real. Somehow they're creating matter from energy." The battle that Zex had expected to be a simple slaughter became a nightmare. His advanced warships, which had terrorized the galaxy for centuries, were being destroyed by technology he couldn't understand. But the most terrifying part wasn't the weapons. It was how the humans fought. They moved with perfect coordination, like they were reading each other's minds. They predicted every Zarkonian attack and countered with devastating precision. In just 10 minutes, 47 of Zex's 50 ships were gone. His own vessel was badly damaged, and only 2 other ships remained. Retreat! He screamed. All remaining ships jumped to hyperspace. As his battered fleet limped away, Minjun's voice followed them. "Tell your people," she said calmly, "that humanity is no longer accepting your disrespect. The next time you attack innocent worlds, we will not be so merciful." Zex stared at the screen in shock. Merciful? They had destroyed his entire fleet and called it mercy? As news of the battle spread throughout the galaxy, every alien species fell silent. The weak, harmless humans had just defeated the most powerful military force in known space. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity had been hiding its true capabilities all along. Asterisk. The news of the Zarkonian fleet's destruction spread across the galaxy like wildfire. In alien councils, military bases, and trading posts, the same question was asked over and over. How did the humans do it? Dr. Jung-Hoon Park stood before the Galactic Council once again, but this time the atmosphere was very different. The massive aliens who had laughed at him before now watched with nervous eyes. Fear had replaced mockery. "Impossible," whispered Council Speaker Zircon. "Your species showed no signs of such advanced technology." Jung-Hoon smiled calmly. "You never asked the right questions," he replied. "You assumed that because we looked weak, we were weak. You judged us by your own standards. The truth was more complex than the aliens could imagine. Humanity had indeed started as the galaxy saw them, physically inferior to most species. But humans had something that made them unique. They never stopped adapting. While the Zarkonians had relied on their natural strength and the Alturians on their telepathic abilities, humans had developed their minds. They had learned to think in ways that other species couldn't understand. Dr. Lisa Wong, Jung-Hoon called to his colleague. "Please explain our research to the Council." Dr. Wong, a small woman with bright eyes, stepped forward. Many aliens had to lean down just to see her properly. "For the past 5 years," she began, "we have been studying quantum mechanics at levels you thought impossible." She activated a holographic display showing complex mathematical formulas. "While you focused on building bigger weapons, we learned to manipulate reality itself. Our ships don't just move through space, they fold space around them." A massive, tentacled alien called Krex spoke up nervously. "But your brains are smaller than ours. How can you process such complex information?" Jung-Hoon laughed. "Size isn't everything. Human brains don't work like yours. We can make connections between ideas that you cannot see. We call it creativity, imagination, and adaptability." The display showed images of human cities that the aliens had never seen. Underground complexes that stretched for miles, space stations hidden in asteroid fields, and colonies in dimensions that existed parallel to normal space. "While you were laughing at our simple crafts," Dr. Wong continued, "our engineers were creating technology that bends the laws of physics. We learned from every species we met, took the best of their knowledge, and improved upon it." Captain Minjun Chun appeared on the communication screen from her ship. "The weapons we used against the Zarkonians were just the beginning," she announced. "We have defenses that can make our planets invisible, weapons that can stop time itself, and ships that can exist in multiple places at once." The aliens in the chamber began to panic. Some tried to leave, but the doors had been sealed. They were trapped with the species they had underestimated for so long. "You're probably wondering," Jung-Hoon said calmly, "why we hid our true capabilities for so long." The answer came from General Robert Hayes, whose image appeared beside Minjun's. "Because we wanted to observe you. We needed to understand what we were dealing with before we revealed ourselves." "And what we learned," added President Maria Santos, Joining the communication was deeply disappointing. The display changed to show recordings of alien civilizations. The Zarkonians destroying peaceful worlds. The Grecs enslaving entire species. The Kreks experimenting on captured beings. Dozens of races that used their power to cause suffering throughout the galaxy. Mistake strength for the ability to hurt others. Sarah Chun's voice rang through the chamber as she appeared on screen. True strength is the ability to protect those who cannot protect themselves. Dr. Wong touched her control panel, and the chamber's walls became transparent. Outside, hundreds of human ships could be seen floating in perfect formation. They had arrived without making a sound, invisible to all alien sensors. These ships, she explained, are crewed by humans you have never seen. Our best pilots, like Iseo Yan Kim and his team, have been training in secret for years. They know your technologies better than you do, because they helped design the improvements. The aliens realized with growing terror that humanity had been several steps ahead of them all along. Every insult, every dismissive laugh, every act of disrespect had been carefully noted and remembered. So what happens now? Asked Zircon, his voice shaking. Yong-hoon's smile disappeared. Now, he said quietly, you learn what it means to face a species that you have pushed too far. Humanity is no longer content to be treated as your inferiors. The age of alien dominance, announced Captain Mingjun, is over. The galaxy erupted into chaos within hours of the Galactic Council meeting. Every alien species scrambled to reassess their military capabilities, but they were already too late. Humanity had been preparing for this moment for years. Commander Zex, still recovering from his humiliating defeat, received emergency communications from across the Zarkonian Empire. His superior, High General Vrak, appeared on his screen with barely controlled rage. Report! Vrak roared, his massive form filling the display. How many human ships are we facing? That's just it, sir, Zex replied nervously. We don't know. Our sensors can't detect them properly. They appear and disappear at will. What the Zarkonians didn't understand was that humanity had developed something beyond their comprehension. True three-dimensional thinking. While aliens had learned to fight in space, humans had learned to fight across multiple dimensions simultaneously. Captain C.O. Yeon, Kim floated in the zero-gravity command center of the human flagship Prometheus. Around him, holographic displays showed the positions of every alien fleet in the galaxy. His crew, all humans who had been dismissed as physically inferior by alien standards, worked with incredible precision. Status report, C.O. Yan commanded. Phase 1 complete. Captain, reported Lieutenant Sarah Park. All major alien military installations had been neutralized without loss of life. This was the key difference that the aliens couldn't grasp. Where they saw war as a chance to destroy and conquer, humans saw it as a problem to be solved efficiently. The human strategy was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Instead of massive battles, they used surgical strikes. Alien warships found their weapon systems simply stopped working. Communication networks went down across entire sectors. Military commanders discovered that their orders were being intercepted and redirected. On the Grex' homeworld, General Brux watched in horror as his planet's defense grid shut down. How are they doing this? He demanded of his technicians. Sir, came the terrified reply, it appears the humans have been inside our computer systems for months. They know everything about our technology. The truth was even more disturbing. Dr. Jung-hoon Park had led a team that had reverse-engineered every piece of alien technology they had encountered. But where the aliens saw these technologies as finished products, humans saw them as starting points for improvement. Every weapon the aliens had built, humans had built better. Every defense system they had created, humans had found ways to bypass. Every strategy they had developed, humans had already anticipated and countered. But the most terrifying aspect of humanity's response wasn't their technology. It was their organization. Species that had spent centuries fighting each other watched in amazement as billions of humans acted as one coordinated force. President Maria Santos addressed the galaxy from Earth's Lunar Command Center. Behind her, displays showed human colonies that had been hidden throughout space, many of them in systems the aliens had never even discovered. Citizens of the galaxy, she began, her voice reaching every inhabited world simultaneously. Humanity did not choose this conflict. We sought only peace and cooperation. But you responded to our friendship with mockery and disrespect. Across the galaxy, alien leaders tried desperately to contact their military forces, only to discover that human ships had surrounded every major installation. But there was no violence. The humans simply waited, like predators who had cornered their prey but chose mercy over destruction. You called us weak because we do not have natural armor, Maria continued. But we built armor that can withstand your strongest weapons. You mocked our slow speed, so we learned to move faster than light itself. You laughed at our small size, not realizing that we could build machines to amplify our capabilities. On the Krex homeworld, the tentacled aliens watched their orbital platforms being dismantled by human engineering teams. The humans worked with impossible efficiency, taking apart technologies that had taken the Krex centuries to develop. Please, begged Krex leader Zoth in a transmission to the humans, we surrender. What do you want? The response came from Captain Minjun Shun, whose fleet had appeared in the Krex system without warning. We want what we asked for from the beginning, respect. And we want you to stop hurting innocent species. The most shocking revelation came when Dr. Lisa Wong broadcast the locations of hundreds of human colonies that had been thriving in secret. Worlds that the aliens had dismissed as uninhabitable were revealed to contain massive human populations. You see, Wong explained, while you were trying to find worlds like your own, we were learning to adapt to any environment. Desert worlds, ice planets, gas giants, humans can live anywhere. The galaxy had underestimated not just human technology, but human determination. They had awoken a sleeping giant. Asterisk. 3 months after humanity revealed its true power, the galaxy was a very different place. The Galactic Council chambers, once filled with mocking laughter, now hosted serious discussions about cooperation and mutual respect. Ambassador Sarah Chun walked through corridors that had once echoed with alien jokes about human weakness. Now, the same aliens stepped aside respectfully as she passed. The change was remarkable, but Sarah took no pleasure in their fear. The transition has been surprisingly smooth, reported Dr. Yong-hoon Park at the emergency assembly. Representatives from every major species had gathered to discuss the new reality. Most civilizations have accepted the new galactic accords. The accords were simple but revolutionary. No species could attack another without justification. All conflicts had to be resolved through negotiation first. Technology would be shared freely to benefit everyone. And most importantly, no species would be judged as inferior based on physical appearance. Commander Zex, who had once sneered at human weakness, now sat quietly in the section reserved for military observers. His empire, like all others, had been forced to restructure completely. But surprisingly, many Zarkonians were discovering they preferred peace to constant warfare. We have established monitoring stations throughout the galaxy, announced General Robert Hayes. Any species that attempts to return to the old ways of conquest and oppression will be stopped immediately. But the humans had learned an important lesson from their success. Power without wisdom was dangerous. They remembered how the other species had abused their advantages, and they were determined not to make the same mistakes. Captain Minjun Chun appeared on the main screen from her position near the galactic core. The human fleet will serve as peacekeepers, she explained, but we will not rule over anyone. Our goal is to ensure that every species can develop according to their own nature, Without fear of attack or enslavement, Dr. Lisa Wong presented her latest research, technologies that could help every species improve their quality of life. Medical advances that could heal alien diseases, energy systems that could power entire worlds without harming the environment, and transportation methods that made interstellar travel available to everyone. We offer these innovations freely, Wong announced, with only one condition: they cannot be used to harm others. The former council speaker Zircon, humbled by recent events, asked the question many were thinking. Why are you being so generous? You have the power to rule us all. Sarah Chun smiled, the same gentle smile that aliens had once mistaken for weakness. Because ruling through fear is not strength, she replied. True strength comes from lifting others up, not pushing them down. The transformation was visible everywhere. Former slave worlds were now free to govern themselves, with human protection ensuring their independence. Aggressive species like the Zarkonians were learning new ways to channel their energy into exploration and construction instead of conquest. Captain Co. Yeon Kim reported from the Ultrarian system, which had become a symbol of the new era. The rebuilding is proceeding ahead of schedule, he announced. Humans, Ulturians, and even former Zarkonian soldiers are working together on the restoration projects. Perhaps the most significant change was in how the galaxy viewed humanity itself. The species that had been dismissed as frail and harmless were now seen as the most formidable force in known space. But more than that, they were respected for how they used their power. The humans could have destroyed us all, admitted Grek's commander, Thok, in a private conversation with his officers. Instead, they chose to help us become better than we were. Young aliens who had once pointed and laughed at human visitors now studied human achievements with admiration. Human schools began accepting alien students, sharing knowledge that had once been closely guarded secrets. But humanity never forgot the lessons of their long period of being underestimated. They maintained their advanced military capabilities, not as weapons of conquest, but as tools of protection for those who could not protect themselves. President Maria Santos concluded the historic session with words that would be remembered for generations. The galaxy mocked us for our differences, not understanding that our differences were our greatest strengths. We learned from every species we met, took the best qualities from each, and became something greater than the sum of our parts. As the assembly ended and representatives prepared to return to their worlds, there was a sense of hope that had been missing from the galaxy for centuries. The age of might makes right was over. The aliens had mocked the frail and harmless humans, never suspecting that they were awakening a force that would reshape the galaxy itself. And in the end, that force chose not to conquer, but to protect. Humanity had shown the galaxy what true strength looked like. The end. Asterisk.